Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Hi. Let's wake up here. If anyway, there's open tables in front here, and I know Mayor Nutter in particular wants to see you all. I'm Larry Platt of the Philadelphia Citizen. Thankful to be here. If you don't know the Citizen, we're a growing non-profit, non-partisan media organization with the mission of, I like to say, defibrillating democracy in the American city where it was born. So we should all get our paddles out after that turnout last week. And one of our most popular offerings is our podcast, How to Really Run a City, which we tagline two legendary mayors on how to get shit done. And our two mayors that I speak of is Mayor Michael Nutter, the former Philadelphia mayor, who is no stranger to this room, and Mayor Kasim Reed of Atlanta, also a former two-term mayor. And he can't be with us today. He's probably off sunning himself at his Bohemian getaway. But batting third in our mayoral murderers row at How to Really Run a City is Scranton Mayor Paige Cognetti, a frequent guest on the podcast, and she'll be joining us live today. So at this point, I'd love to welcome our two all-star mayors. All right. So if you have to listen to the podcast, we had a lot of fun. We don't take ourselves too seriously, but we take issues seriously and the challenges in urban America seriously. And before we begin, we should congratulate Mayor Cognetti on her big primary win last week. I believe 75% of the vote? 75. And this is the fourth election in 6 years? So you'll be fifth election in 6 years in November.
Yes, because Pennsylvania, as we all in this room know, has partisan primaries, partisan elections. So it's great, though. It's fun. It's fun to be on the ballot, fun to run. It's fun to tell your story. A little exhausting. I'm not gonna pretend it's not exhausting, but it is fun. It's good to always be challenged, always come out on top, 4 for 4 so far. We'll see what happens in November.
I think you're going to be all right.
Keep working here. Mr. Legendary.
That's only just a poll. I'd become legendary.
I happen to refer to you as the elder statesman of this panel.
Just keep doing it.
Legendary.
All right, it's been fun.
Legendary, like an 80s.
So, and I should say that Mayor Nutter has been a mentor to you. So these are people who are very familiar with one another.
And let me say thank you, Larry, that in 2019 I ran a special election in Scranton. The 6 ways I was told, absolutely not, impossible, you'll never win. You don't have the right name, you happen to be 7 months pregnant, this is just not from here. It's never happened. Mayor Nutter was supportive of me all the way through, especially during the transition, so I'm grateful to you for that.
Well, and one thing that you guys have in common is this word that doesn't come up as much anymore. We're going to talk about leadership styles and political priorities, which is reformer. Mayor Nutter, you governed as a reformer at the time when you first ran for mayor and had been on the city council. There was lots of pro blocks around City Hall and our politics.
I was fearful.
And Mayor Cognetti, you have run and continue to run against this corrupt. Can you share with us what your brilliant campaign slogan is?
So we ran in a special election because the mayor that preceded me went to prison for extortion. One of many people, unfortunately, up in northeastern Pennsylvania who had gone to prison in that preceding decade. People were really tired of the corruption, but of course, when he went away, the Democratic Party locally, went behind closed doors, anointed a candidate, and thought, well, that's it, we've got our new mayor. I didn't like that, so we ran against that. I ran as an independent, and Paige Against the Machine became the moniker, which a friend of mine messaged me. We had the campaign for about a month. He said, how is this not your tagline? He said, you're a genius. We got this. And we thought, well, we'll never need that again. It will just be fun. But no. This last Tuesday, we beat the city Democratic Party chair. The machine came back again. And that's it. That's the slogan. This time, my campaign manager actually made some signs and put them around the office. And it was appropriate because the local city party machine, the chair himself came after us. And it just shows, I think, that reformers really do get shit done, but they ruffle some feathers along the way.
I love that language. I love that language. All right, now we're going to have fun.
Well, so that gets to one of our topics today, which is that, cities are not just governments. They're unique in this way. Bruce Katz talks about this all the time. They're networks. And they're cross-collaborative networks. Otherwise, you can't get anything done. So talk to this group about how you get stuff done, how a mayor can lead with all these different interest groups, sometimes all fighting with one another. What is the role of leadership, which is sort of unique in the American city in that way?
So, being here at this summit is perfect for what we do in Scranton, what we've been doing since 2020, which is networking across all of our foundations, all of our community organizations, our nonprofits, our healthcare organizations, our educational organizations. I came in January 2020, 10 weeks later, COVID. So we had to all work together, and those groups have come together spectacularly. We have built relationships from the trenches of COVID that we utilize all day, every day. The political apparatus is what seems to not be rolling in the same direction as us, but that's okay. We keep going. We take the view of the voters very seriously. We got yet another report card last Tuesday, but our work with, for example, the Scranton Area Community Foundation, we have this incredible relationship with them, and through that we are able to do so much more. And again, not just in the city, but also in the whole region, because while Scranton is the beating heart of northeastern Pennsylvania, it doesn't extend, it extends past the city borders. So we're grateful to that organization. I was just here in Philly a few weeks ago at the Philly Fed. We were talking about CDFIs and different economic opportunities. We're working with our Community Fair Foundation to bring CDFIs to Scranton. We don't have one. We're working together to do that. So there's all sorts of that networking that we work together. We have a great united way in Scranton. We're continuing to work with those groups. So the relationships matter so much.
Misplaced my mavericks. Let's recognize Bill Bohart and the great folks here. Yeah. Gary, the city is not just the city government. It is this incredible network of entities. It's the United Way, it's the colleges and universities, it's the corporate community, it's the foundation community, it's the block captains. Block captains. Committee people and up through the political chain, if you want to go that way. But I've always said cities are living, breathing entities. They have a mood, they have an attitude. We certainly have an attitude here in Philadelphia. I knew, at least in the wintertime, if the Eagles won on Sunday, then it's great, that's going to be a good Monday. And if they didn't, then all hell was going to break loose and everybody's got an attitude. And, it's like, hello, good morning? Who said it was a good morning? Fuck you. Okay. I'm Phillies fan about my game, so it's kind of goes up and down. Go Phillies. But this is a passionate town. People ask me across the country, how would you describe Philadelphia? And it's the same answer all the time: passionate. We are passionate about everything. We will argue about shit that we agree about. Just because we want to debate it first, and then reach agreement, and then go have a drink or something. So and you have to figure out how do you maneuver, how do you navigate these places. And so as a mayor, it really is a 24/7 kind of thing, right? I would do 14, 15, 16 different meetings, events, activities in the course of the day into the night. There was the daytime stuff, and then there's the nighttime stuff. Right? Very different, kinds of things. And often just like show up at stuff. Go to office building, have a meeting, I'd wander around, I'd literally walk into somebody else's office. Say, hey, what y'all doing? Why is the mayor in our office? And sit down, right?
Oh, yeah.
Continue on.
You did that to me one time.
I did, yeah, because you were fucking with me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And giving me shit. And so I was like, what the fuck's wrong with you?
Yeah, you showed up and you said you wanted to talk about our relationship. I said, I don't even talk to my wife about our relationship.
I'm not in to deal with that. That's it, right? But we had some issues, right? And so that's how you deal with it, right? It's like, this is like upfront, direct. If there's an issue, let's talk about it and we'll figure it out.
So the theme today is servant leadership, which I feel is like a really appropriate given these times. And Mayor, we had an event last week. You were kind enough to come, and you did something that really brought tears to my eyes. You were 200 people in the room. You asked them all to raise their right hand, and you led them in the pledge that is the back of your business card, and was written on the back of your business card when you were mayor. Can you share with this group what that message is?
Sure. So somewhere along the line, I became very familiar with the Athenian Oath. And if you haven't read it recently, or if you're not familiar, please go on the Google machine and take a look at it. This is the oath that young Athenians took as they were becoming adults, and you could not become an adult until you read and understood the Athenian Oath. And so at the Icon Awards, the Integrity Icon Awards last week, I asked the crowd, I don't know, it didn't tell my I was going to do this. You may have picked up over time, a little bit spur of the moment, feel the crowd. And I was supposed to stand up, put my right hand, and let them through, word by word, the Athenian Oath. And I think at the end, it's about, I'm going to leave this city better than I found it. Along with that, I would say, so pretty much our oaths of office are probably pretty much the same across Pennsylvania. You pledge to uphold the Constitution of the United States. It's apparently easier for some of us than others. Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter. But, for some of us, very easy to commit to because we're actually going to do those things. But I think our oath of office, the most important line, is right at the end, where it says, and I will fill my duties with responsibility. That really is the key to public service, that you will do your duty no matter what. It's easy to do the right thing when it's easy. It's not easy when it's tough. That is about the accountability of leadership for me. Doing the right thing when it's not.
So you're both very much servant leaders, reformers. Give me specific examples of your leadership style in action. I tend to judge leaders by the rate at which they're willing to put reputation at risk, and often, and even if they're willing to say no to their friends. Are there specific examples of your governance which those principles come to mind?
Sure. Running the city for the last 5.5 years against kind of the old way of doing things is not easy. It comes with saying no a lot. There are folks who say, well, sure, you're going by the books, but they expect that there will still be some things on the fringes that are up for grabs, and we just don't do it that way. It would make my political life a lot easier if we did it that way. But if we don't completely reject the way that things used to be, if we don't completely reject favorites for friends, we're just going to be like the rest of them. So we keep doing it the hard way. We keep doing the next right thing. Somebody texted me. I get all Melatonin friends. I think that's true, right? You can pretend that was you, but you know somebody sending that up. A friend of mine. Friend texted me last year after a particularly hard day where I essentially said no to something, and it was politically difficult. And she said, "Just keep doing the next right thing." That's become our mantra of our administration. Just keep doing the next right thing, even though it's hard.
I love that.
I mean, there's so many examples, but one partially familiar for many of you. So we'll go back to the Great Recession and something I call the wheat. So hang with me. On Wednesday, October 29th, 2008, Philadelphia Phillies won the World Series.
Yeah. Jingle.
By the way, I threw up the first pitch at a home opener that year. You put these two things together, you decide. By the way, I threw out the first pitch, the home opener on March 31st, 2008. The Philadelphia Phillies won the World Series on October 29th, 2008. I never threw out the first pitch again during my tenure. And the Phillies did not win World Series for the rest of the time. You decide. Anyway.
So those of us who are concerned about relief pitching, we shouldn't be. We should just call you for the...
I mean, 60 feet, 6 inches, it was a strike. I made a mistake with tucking in my jersey and, destroyed that. Anyway, that's not the story. Anyway. Phillies won the World Series on Wednesday, October 29th, 2008. We had a parade on Friday, October 31st. 2 million people showed up. No one did anything particularly stupid. No one got arrested. It was a great day. The following Tuesday, Barack Obama became president-elect, first African-American president of the United States. And on Thursday, I had a live press conference announcing that the city had a $1.5 billion deficit. People said, "You are a fucking asshole. You have destroyed our joy, taken away everything that's happened over the past week." But we had to do that to be honest with the public about what was going on. It was hard, it was difficult, it was my job to do that and then try to lead the city through that issue. And there was a lot of, you can't announce that, you can't say it. We have to tell the truth to the public about what is going on. Those are tough calls that you make in this job. This is the CEO job of this city. It's an $8 billion corporation. 1.5 million customers, citizens, residents, depend on the leadership to do the right thing, even when it's hard.
Let me ask you both, who are your leadership models? Who in history, or, if you were to ask me, it would have been Robert Kennedy, but now I can't say that because his son is crazy. But
That was...
there's your seats. So,
Look at you with the language.
see, this is why you gotta check out the podcast, because it's just this kind of banner, and Paige just jumped right in. Who informed the way you look at running a city?
Michael Nutter, obviously.
Oh,
Concurrently with that story, so I was at the Obama campaign office above City Hall that same week. I watched all the celebrations from our perch, looking down. We didn't get to participate, but we did get to see it. We did get to celebrate that victory on that Tuesday. And then after that, I had the privilege of going into the Obama administration and working in the Treasury Department as the financial crisis was happening. And if you remember the financial crisis, you remember Hank Paulson, you remember Ben Bernanke and Tim Geithner. Tim Geithner became the Treasury Secretary. So I had, as a junior staffer, I had this incredible view into the policy making and the firefighting of the financial crisis. So I got to see Tim Geithner and Ben Bernanke, for that matter, and he would come over for his meetings. Then I worked with Dale Brainerd, who has went on to the Fed and NBC again. But I got to see financial policymakers. So their names might not be household names, but in the biggest crises of really our time, I got to see how calmly they took news, which is very helpful to me. People often remark, how can you be calm right now? And I say, well, if I'm not calm when I get news like this, I would be up and down every day, and this would not be sustainable. I also know that we have to make a plan, because plan beats no plan. You cannot have no plan, right? You cannot not act. You shouldn't act rashly. You shouldn't act before you talk to your team, before you, if you can, have slept on it. But you can't just fill your thumbs for 3 weeks or 4 weeks in the middle of crisis. COVID hits, look at that news. You get to get some information for a couple of days, but you have to decide whether or not your foot's on City Hall, all those things. So I got most of my training really through the financial crisis and getting to be with those policymakers.
It would be a little bit of a list, quite frankly. And I think that we bring a wealth of life experiences to these offices. Right? So I was in first grade when President Kennedy was subsequently read Courage, Profiles of Courage, and but all that John F. Kennedy could have done, fulfilled in this country. I was 10 during 11 when Dr. King and Robert Kennedy were both killed, April and June of '68. Watching TV and the stuff that was going on in the cities, and Malcolm X in '65, and you kind of fast forward. The person I probably learned the most about in terms of government and being trying to be a student, certainly in this city, is Darrell. Maybe other than President Clinton, I mean, no one does retail politics better than. We came into office. He had run for mayor in '87, lost. I ran for city council in '87, lost, and then we both came back in '91 and came in together. And the city had its own financial crisis. Many of the things that we did in the Great Recession were lessons learned in the early '90s with Ida and Mayor Rendell, and so it was, it's kind of probably a seat to how to engage during a crisis. And as Paige said, this is I've described this job as it's an emotional roller coaster, right? You could be reading the second graders at 8:30 in the morning. You have to deliver remarks. So if you're at 11, you go to some other meeting at 2. You've got a bus crash into something. The house is on fire. I mean, in the course of so if you don't maintain some level of emotional control, you will be out of control, and it is unsustainable. Right? So I mean, a lot of times you see. So I just watched. Just the other night. It's only 3 episodes on Netflix. The Hunt for Osama bin Laden. And it showed the clip of President Bush, 43, getting the news of the first hour. He's sitting in a classroom with children who are reading words, and the teachers are right and stating. All the while, the camera really kind of went on, and you see, you can literally see the wheels going around. What in the hell did this person just say in my ear, right? And subsequently said he didn't immediately react because he didn't want to scare the children, right? That takes I mean, everything is context, right? So now, George W. Bush, 43, I mean, appears to be a genius.
A statesman.
And the current, great hitman. Okay, wow. Damn. Southern guy. Really great. So, but it's you really have to control yourself in this room, right? And not you. And Philadelphia certainly know. There were a few times that I did react as human, and we're human, and we have emotions, even though they're masked at times. And biggest comment that people say, okay, now is, I didn't know that you were kind of funny. Yeah, funny, but you can't be funny when you've been a dick. Right? You gotta be like serious all the time. So,
Paige is like, I still have to run for office, Jerry.
No, it's so funny you mentioned that because I have thought about that many times though. Because I remember, my formative things are more recent than yours, but I wasn't around for the Kennedy's assassination. But
okay, you're younger. All right.
But I remember the president getting so much pushback for sitting with those kids for a few more minutes. And at the time, I didn't understand it, but I've thought about it many times as mayor, that if I got news like that in that situation, what would I do? And I understand why he didn't burst out of his chair and traumatize these kids more than they were going to be traumatized later when they saw the footage with their parents. And also just that need to take a beat and understand what you just heard and be able to, you want leaders who can think, right? You don't want people to be reactive. When people are just reactive, that can lead to very emotional decision making. That's not what you want in leadership either. You want decisions to come, you don't want no plan, but you've got to balance that reactive with having no plan. So I give him the credit where it's due for how he reacted in that moment, and we can debate the rest later. We don't need to do that today, but I think about that moment often.
Yeah. So,
We've got 5 minutes left. I want to ask you, you both, we talk about this on podcasts all the time, how what we're getting from Washington, D.C. is so chaotic, often so immoral, disconcerting, and so forth. It all adds up to making a local matter more, both from a standpoint of that's where the sanity is, but also, like, not to get all stoic about it, Marcus Aurelius, but like, you can only control what you can control, and you can sweep the city street. Which is why I love that you mentioned lock captains, because you have previously at some of our events said that that's the most important elected official in elected position in Philadelphia. So, given all that, what can we call on this group today to do moving forward? What action can all of us take to move the needle back to sanity?
So I think it's fitting being here with United Way, with philanthropy, community organizations. We can only control what we can control. And what I've been talking with folks in our community about is it's overwhelming to think about all of the different changes that are coming down. It's overwhelming to think about the sledgehammer of Doge. It's overwhelming in those ways on purpose. So what are the things that you can speak to personally about where your voice can make a difference? So with philanthropy, for example, given the big, beautiful bill and its ramifications, it's easy to go out there and just say, vote no, this is terrible, I can't believe it. That doesn't stick. If you're philanthropy, you can say, our food bank that we support cannot possibly backfill this funding. This funding, if it's gone, it is gone. Being very clear about what it means and very clear about what you can and cannot do. Because there's going to be this idea of, well, private funding philanthropy, that's going to make all the difference. No, it's not. Our hospitals in Scranton, 2 of our 3 hospitals are probably going to go under because they were bought out by private equity and they were sucked dry, and I don't know where people are going to have babies in Scranton anymore. That's the reality, right? Stories like that. So take, what is it in your life, what is it in your family's life, your professional life? What are the stories that are going to stick? Be really, really clear about the realities in those stark terms, especially I think you think about philanthropy. As wonderful as all of our philanthropic groups are, you cannot backfill Medicaid. The money isn't there. So be clear about that.
vote. 17%. 17% for now, regardless of, like the deal, don't like the deal, whatever. You have to show up. Elections have consequences. I'll say it one more time. Elections have consequences, because we wouldn't be having this conversation about the 2 hospitals but for people not voting. We wouldn't be having a conversation about Roe v. Wade and reproductive rights in the Supreme Court had people voted in 2016. It was 9 years ago. As I say, a little bit of politics. As I think Hillary Clinton would not have nominated 3 Supreme Court justices who would lie in their confirmation hearing, not tell the truth, and then vote a different way than they said they would if they heard it. Right? Elections have consequences. No one has ever elected themselves by themselves. Comes as a result of either your folks turning out or not. Show me. And in the presidential election, which is the only election like this in the United States of America, you can actually get more votes than the other person and not win. This is the only office in the United States of America where that is true. Vote. You want something different? Vote. Don't depend on someone. It's the one thing that everyone can do. Everyone's equal on election day. Get off the couch, put the phone down for a second, walk your ass 5 minutes, 10 minutes down the street, go to the voting booth, do your thing, and then you get back to TikTok. Vote. They're sitting there make a video about how you vote.
Right. We're about out of time. We took up a lot of time with all of Mayor Nutter's litany of F-bombs.
I'm really sorry. I mean, it's early.
One lightning round question.
Yeah.
What book would you recommend to this group to give them to read and give them some hope coming out today?
I read a lot of really dark stuff. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know why I do it. Everything I read is pretty dark. I just had Nadia Desmond ask him to sign my book, Evicted, because that's like my style of reading.
Okay, so that's good. Evicted is a
Evicted's
great
great. I mean, guys, I'm sure all of us readers read that.
I always recommend The Art of War by Sun Tzu.
Very interesting recommendation. It's a great book. No, it is. I'm ready to go to war. I want to thank these two, an elder statesman and a rising star, in talking about getting us. It was cities by 2050, 2/3 of the world will live in cities. So as cities go, so goes the nation, so goes the world. So I can't thank both of you enough for your service and your leadership.